Nevada for 5 minutes. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Lo siento, no hablo español muy bien. Un poquito, nada más. Ojalá que mejore. I'm glad that
That accent is really good.
Thank you, thank you. It's a little southern accent. That's it. Well, I'm glad that after 11 months of the administration that we are finally having a hearing that is really focused on the Western Hemisphere, because that's what our committee is supposed to be looking at, and it's taken us a while to get here. Now, in the meantime, we have seen Trump threaten to seize the Panama Canal. He has renamed the Gulf of Mexico. He has given $40 billion to Argentina. He has threatened military strikes against Mexico. He has bombed boats in the Caribbean without legal justification. He has slapped crippling tariffs on our partners in North and South and Central America, which has resulted in skyrocketing prices for my constituents. And now he's just itching to invade Venezuela and talking about covert activities there. We haven't addressed any of that up until this point, and yet it is happening as we speak, all of these things going on in the hemisphere. Now, that's not to minimize the importance of what's happening in Honduras and the value of democratic institutions there and elsewhere, but it's merely to highlight the fact that the committee knows what the Trump administration is doing in Latin America. It is creating chaos throughout the hemisphere. It is not advancing U.S. interest in the region. It's not making our constituents in this country or throughout the region safer, stronger, or more prosperous, and it's not how this country should be doing foreign policy. Republicans on this committee know that if we talk about those things, they may lose the narrative on any of these issues, so we have just diverted attention away from everything else that's going on there. And especially now that we know the president probably doesn't have any trouble putting boots on the ground in the foreign country. So I would ask you, Mr. Rhodes, do you think that the chaos that the administration has wrought throughout the hemisphere could have any negative impacts on Honduras, on its institutions going beyond the election, migration policy, security challenges, other things? I mean, the election is just one day. Then you got to deal with the future. How is all this chaos going to impact what happens next?
Yes, Congresswoman, as I stated in my opening statement, the Trump administration has largely operated a very transactional approach to the region. With Honduras, there have been 353 deportation flights this year alone, and so it's very obvious to the Castro government, if they play ball on that count, they can get away with a lot of other stuff. And so that's of concern to many of us. On Venezuela, my organization, Human Rights First, has been pretty vocal that what is happening with the boat strikes amounts to extrajudicial killings, particularly without any evidence. We all know that fentanyl is not coming from Venezuela, it's coming through Mexico. And so it's really, at the end of the day, a dysfunctional game of whack-a-mole that is being played out right now in the Caribbean and probably will have no impact on drug markets here in the U.S. Just a month ago, I was up in Baltimore doing police ride-alongs at drug markets, and I can't tell you the number of fentanyl needles that were all over the ground in these neighborhoods. So very hard to imagine that any of this is going to have any impact on that, which what the Trump administration says they're trying to do. And at the last point, we have to be consistent when we call out left-leaning authoritarian regimes. There are also, as I said earlier, ones on the right. Bukele in El Salvador has demonstrated authoritarian tendencies. You've seen Crystal Sal, one of the leading human rights organizations, which has had to leave the country because one of their anti-corruption activists is now currently in prison. So let's be consistent also in the sense of how we deal with these issues.
Well, do you think cutting off foreign assistance for democracy and good government programs would make a difference? That's been a negative impact on this notion that we need free and fair elections. You've got no NDI, no IRI down there working on these issues because we've cut off all that foreign aid.
I'll say definitely the dismantling of USAID and the cut in assistance that my bureau, DRL, provided definitely has had an impact on electoral observation, support to civic activists, to media outlets, other organizations. NDI has been able to continue their operation at a reduced scale, but we would be in a different position if we had a much more robust foreign assistance apparatus at this point that we could have started much sooner to prepare the way for the elections on November 30th in Honduras.
Well, we've heard a lot of testimony here about how the Honduran people have low trust in their government, and they're not confident that these elections are going to be free and fair. Do you think having the chairwoman of this committee say, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but don't vote for the communists, is that going to help increase trust in the electoral process, or think that it's fair and being done in Honduras and not with a thumb on the scale from somewhere else?
Well, Congresswoman, obviously we want to maintain impartiality in all of this, but it is important to call out the irregularities that we are seeing currently on the ground, and so I think that's what we've all stated here in our opening testimonies, that there are things that do concern us on what's happening in Honduras. But again, I'll go back to my point. Let's be consistent and call it out on both the left and the right when we see governments that are demonstrating authoritarian tendencies on both sides of the political side.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Titus from the state of Nevada. Now I recognize Congressman